Beijing will impose punitive tariffs of 10 to 15% on some American products and restrict exports of key minerals as U.S. trade tensions escalate. Hong Kong stocks rebound amid hopes that talks between Chinese and U.S. leaders will alleviate trade friction. And health experts warn that returning trippers after the travel peak could exacerbate the flu situation in Hong Kong. Good evening, you're watching Cable News. I'm Jeremy Zhu. U.S. additional tariffs on Chinese imports came into effect today as planned, triggering swifty Chinese retaliatory responses, including new levies of up to 15% and anti-monopoly investigation into Google. Anna Chen reports.
Right after the U.S. new 10% tariffs on Chinese goods came into effect on Tuesday, Beijing announced a series of retaliatory moves against the U.S., renewing a trade war between the world's top two economies. The countermeasures include a 15% tax on coal and liquefied natural gas imports from the U.S. Crude oil, agricultural machinery, pickup trucks and large engine cars will face a 10% tariff. New levies are due to take effect on next Monday. Separately, Beijing's anti-monopoly watchdog has launched an investigation into Google over alleged antitrust violations. Besides, the Ministry of Commerce announced that 25 types of rare metal products, many of which are used in the production of high-tech materials, are placed on export controls. Additionally, U.S. clothing company PVH Corp and U.S. biotech company Illumina are added to its unreliable entity list, banning them from engaging in China-related import or export activities and from making new investments in the country. The Ministry of Finance accused the Trump administration of breaking international trade rules. It is not only unhelpful in solving its own problems, but also undermines the normal economic and trade cooperation between China and the U.S. Beijing has filed a complaint with the World Trade Organization to defend its legitimate rights and interests. Trump said on Monday he planned to speak with President Xi Jinping soon. A White House spokesperson said the two leaders would not be speaking until later in the week. Trump also warned on Monday that if China is not going to stop the export of fentanyl into the U.S., the tariffs are going to go substantially higher. Anna Chen, Cable News.
While the new levies on Chinese goods imposed by the U.S. came into effect as scheduled, U.S. President Donald Trump agreed at last minute to pause tariffs on Mexico and Canada for 30 days in return for the two countries' concessions on border and crime enforcement. Anna Chen again has the story.
Just hours before the U.S. is due to impose 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada, U.S. President Donald Trump agreed to a 30-day pause in return for concessions on border and crime enforcement. It is the third time in 2 weeks Trump has delayed his threatening new duties on the two neighboring countries, following talks with the two leaders. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said Canada would be implementing its previously announced $1.3 billion border plan, as well as committing to appointing a fentanyl czar and listing cartels as terrorists. While Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum agreed to reinforce its northern border with 10,000 National Guard members to stem the flow of illegal migrants and drugs. Sheinbaum said the U.S. also made a commitment for the first time to prevent trafficking of high-powered weapons to Mexico. Trump earlier suggested the 27-nation European Union would be his next target. EU leaders at an informal summit in Brussels said Europe would be prepared to fight back if Washington imposed tariffs, but also called for reason and negotiation. Anna Chan, Cable News.
Hong Kong stocks closed at the highest point so far this year, despite fluctuations amidst evolving U.S.-China trade tensions. The benchmark Hang Seng Index opened high on hopes for trade talks, jumping 668 points early on to hit 20,885 points. The rise narrowed to 80 points in the afternoon after Beijing announced retaliatory tariffs on some U.S. products. However, it bounced back with a 572-point surge, ending the day at 20,789 points, the highest since November last year.
China has imposed export restrictions on 5 rare metals used across defense and clean energy. China rare earth surged nearly 12%. Semiconductor-related stocks performed strongly, with Hua Hong Semiconductor up nearly 13% and SMIC surging over 8%. Meanwhile, Meituan and Tencent climbed 4% to 6%.
Health experts are once again sounding the alarm over the surge in flu cases at popular travel spots, advising trippers to take extra precautions and get vaccinated at least 2 weeks before their journey. Cheryl Yun reports.
The tragic death of 48-year-old Taiwanese actress Barbie Hsu, who passed away from pneumonia following a flu infection during a family trip to Japan, has heightened awareness about the flu. Taking to the airwaves, Lau Yulong, chairman of the Scientific Committee on Vaccine-Preventable Diseases, said that adults aged 18 to 64 are often overlooked as a high-risk group for severe complications, especially those with chronic heart or lung conditions.
流感如果係正常咧，大概5到6日就應該開始復原㗎啦。
Influenza patients typically recover in 5 to 6 days. If symptoms persist for over a week, individuals should watch out for any flu complications, he warned. To check for pneumonia, he suggested using fingertip pulse oximeters to monitor oxygen levels and evaluating breathing during activities like climbing stairs. Lau also noted that flu cases in Japan are significantly more severe compared to Hong Kong. Travelers are advised to wear masks in crowded areas, be mindful of the proximity of medical facilities, and to bring along rapid test kits. They can also consult a doctor before departing and keep flu antivirals on hand. Hong Kong has seen 199 severe cases of flu in adults within the first 4 weeks of the year. Lau cautioned that returning trippers after the travel peak could exacerbate the flu situation in Hong Kong, urging citizens to remain vigilant and not to let our guards down. Cheryl Yun, Cable News.
Castle Peak Hospital has reported a group infection of influenza A, of which 1 chronically ill patient passed away due to the virus.
Since last Tuesday, 3 female patients aged between 56 and 69 in an adult psychiatric ward have shown respiratory infection symptoms. Tests concluded by the hospital confirmed they were positive for influenza A. 1 chronically ill patient, whose condition continued to get worse, passed away 3 days later. The other 2 patients are currently receiving quarantine treatment and are stable. The hospital said it has reported the cases to the Hospital Authority Head Office and the Center for Health Protection for follow-up. Infection control measures have been strengthened, and the health of other patients is being closely monitored.
The city saw its retail sales plummeting 7.3% last year, a decline which the Retail Management Association deemed not ideal but within expectations.
Taking to the airwaves, chairwoman of the association Annie Tse explained that since March and April last year, the market has been stagnant, likely due to the strong Hong Kong dollar encouraging locals to travel outside of the SAR and a shift in tourist spending habits. She mentioned that despite the resumption of multiple entry visa for Shenzhen residents boosting foot traffic, mainland tourists are not spending as much as before. However, she believes in the long-term positive impact of the policy and hoped the authorities could expand the scheme to the entire Greater Bay Area. Although the overall sales numbers seemed not satisfying, Tse did highlight that sales of low-price goods have improved, particularly in cosmetics and personal care products.
A cold weather warning gripped the city today, with morning temperatures hovering near 12 degrees Celsius.
Residents bundled up in thick coats, though some hardy souls still brave the chill for their daily jog. The Hong Kong Observatory attributed the chilliness to a potent northeast monsoon, which dropped temperatures 3 to 4 degrees below yesterday's levels. While skies will brighten later, highs will linger near 17 degrees, with cooler mornings forecasted until another weekend cold snap. The chilly start mirrors January's frosty end, when the mercury dived to 10.6 degrees on January 27th, the month's coldest day. Yet, despite the cold finale, January was largely a sunny and dry affair, perfect for outdoor enthusiasts. January 12th stood out as an exceptionally dry day. Humidity citywide plummeted to 30% or below, with Chicxulub hitting a bone-dry 9%, the second lowest January mark since 1997.
Box office in the city hit the lowest level in 10 years in the 5 days between Lunar New Year's Eve and the 4th day of the Year of the Snake.
According to Hong Kong Box Office Limited, both local and foreign films unwrapped a total of around $30.6 million from all cinemas in the city during the period. This marks a 37.1% decrease compared to the over $48 million made last year during the same period, and a 59% drop from the pre-pandemic level in 2019. Two local films, Hit and Fun and My Best Bet, became the two best sellers, grossing about $7.47 million and $5.8 million respectively. The Hong Kong Theatres Association described the result as disappointing.
The Spring Festival holiday, traditionally the most lucrative period for China's film industry, saw unprecedented success this year, with total box office revenue exceeding 8.7 billion yuan. Quinton Yang reports.
Latest data showed the national box office revenue for the Spring Festival holiday reached 8.7 billion yuan as of today, with cinemas across the country receiving over 170 million visits, marking a historic high for the industry during this period. Meanwhile, total box office revenue for this year so far, including pre-sales, has exceeded 10 billion yuan, outpacing North America and ranking first globally. The holiday season saw 6 consecutive days of box office earnings exceeding 1 billion yuan, starting from January 29th, when 6 highly anticipated films debuted. Leading the pack are the animated fantasy Ne Zha 2, creation of the Gods sequel Demon Force, and Detective Chinatown 1900. All are domestic productions. Notably, half of the films released during the Spring Festival were inspired by traditional Chinese culture, including Asian history, mythology, and martial arts, resonating strongly with viewers. The industry's success was further fueled by innovative marketing campaigns and state-of-the-art special effects. Another significant contributor was the integration of film and tourism. Several production teams partnered with local governments to promote tourist destinations featured in their films. Quinton Yang, Cable News.
A Japanese truck driver has been trapped in a massive sinkhole for over 1 week near Tokyo, as rescuers are still racing against time to clear the debris and reach to him.
The sinkhole is about 15 meters deep. Heavy concrete structures and other debris are piled up inside. Water, believed to be sewage, is also spewing out, hampering the search for a truck driver now trapped for a week in the massive sinkhole that suddenly opened up last Tuesday at an intersection in Yashio City, north of Tokyo. Rescue workers are digging a second slope to the cavity to enable heavy machinery to clear away soil and debris, so to launch a full-scale search for the 74-year-old driver, whose condition remains unknown. Prefectural officials have also asked households and businesses in 12 cities and towns nearby to stop using water for 3 hours from 2 p.m. today, in order to check whether the stoppage would change the water level inside the sinkhole.
Now let's take a look at the stock market. The Hang Seng Index ended the day up 572 points. Top active stocks of the day. Tencent was up $16.60. Alibaba was up $3.65. Xiaomi was up $1.60. JD was up $10.20. Foreign exchange against the Hong Kong dollar. Euro 8.03. The British pound 9.65. Chinese bubble tea chain Guming Holdings, which sells under the Good Me brand, has kicked off its initial public offering, the first in the year of the snake.
A total of over 158 million shares are up for grabs, with each share priced between $8.68 and $9.94, aiming to raise up to $1.57 billion. The IPO is scheduled to conclude by Friday, with the stock set to commence trading on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange the following Wednesday. Originating in Zhejiang Province in 2010, Guming has around 9,000 stores across the mainland. It is set to join the ranks of tea chain-related stocks in Hong Kong, following the footsteps of Nayuki and Cha Bai Dao.
On to the weather now. It will be mainly fine at first, rather cool tomorrow morning with a minimum temperature of about 14 degrees in the urban areas and a few degrees lower in the new territories. Dry during the day with a maximum temperature of around 19 degrees. Mainly cloudy, and it will remain cool in the morning in the following couple of days. That's our news tonight. I'm Jeremy Zhu. Thanks for watching and good night.